Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's webinar. And let's go ahead and get started with Vicky.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our UK ResNexus webinar, which is everything you need to know about OTAs and how to increase direct bookings. So firstly, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Vicky. I'm the co-owner of Tracks and Cream Glamping. I've been running our award-winning glamping site for the last 8 years, and I've got around 15 years of hospitality experience in both hotels and in glamping. I'm also on the board of directors for the UK Glamping Trade Association as head of social media, PR and public affairs. And I'm also a ResNexus ambassador for the UK. ResNexus entered the hospitality industry in late 2004, and now our award-winning software is one of the highest rated property management softwares in the US. ResNexus is one of the first cloud-based property management softwares on the market, and we focus on providing the best online guest shopping experience paired with powerful back office tools and management for unique stay properties. Our mission is to elevate industries, one business at a time, through service, innovation, and education. We have industry-leading 5-star customer support with over 60 team members and are PCI compliant to securely run online payments. And like I mentioned before, we've been in business for 20 years. ResNexus is family owned and operated. In the middle, you'll see James Mayfield, who's the CEO and founder of ResNexus. And then you also see his other brothers, David and Nathan. Together, they have decades of hospitality experience. Our driving philosophy or motto is learn, serve, grow, which means we learn about your individual needs and property, see how we can serve it without expecting anything in return, and help your business grow first. Meaning our primary focus is your business growing in revenue and time savings. We find that when we do that, we grow as well, which is why it's called Grow Squared. ResNexus is an all-in-one solution. The ResNexus difference is the way we have all the tools you need developed by ResNexus. So you only have to have one login and one system to learn. Of course, we do partner with other companies, but when we can, we develop the tools ourselves. This helps to reduce confusion, save time, save money, and keep it simple for you and your staff. Again, I'd like to say that we're far more than a software company. Our team of hospitality business coaches are here to give you industry insights and help you optimize your business tools. So now let's go on to OTAs. What exactly is an online travel agency or OTA? Well, here are some examples. These are also sometimes referred to as marketing channels because this is one of the best ways you can get your property found online. We'll go over each of these in greater depth later on in the presentation. But if your property only has, say, tent and caravan sites, then OTAs like Expedia and Vrbo probably aren't interested in your inventory. But they can still be great options if you have cabins or similar accommodation. So why do we use OTAs? Well, the objective of all marketing is to promote and sell a product. So what's significant about marketing channels? Well, I'm going to first answer that question with a question. What's your marketing budget? How much money do you spend per year on advertising, digital content, marketing, market research, and public relations? How much business do you attract because of these efforts? As you might imagine, there's a lot more money, time, effort, and strategy that goes into marketing your property effectively. Plus, it's difficult to know what kinds of results to expect from your efforts. Don't get me wrong, marketing can be incredibly rewarding, but hindsight is always 20/20. And you can't know for certain what's going to work before you try it. Basically, marketing channels pay it for you. This is why properties use marketing channels. They do the marketing for you and they only take a commission when it pays off for your business. How much money does Expedia spend on marketing? Well, according to this data from Statista, last year it was $7.6 billion. Obviously, their marketing efforts aren't geared towards your property specifically, but rather towards their own platform. But that's how you get discovered. 86 million unique users use Expedia every month. That's why marketing channels are so helpful for both guests and for properties. For guests, it's a centralised place to search for accommodation and travel options. For the property, it's a great way to tap into a massive audience you wouldn't otherwise have access to. Marketing channels come in several different categories, but like most categories, not everything fits neatly into one. But generally, these are the kind of marketing channels that most independent hoteliers deal with. First is the OTA, the online travel agency. This is probably the one you're most familiar with. Airbnb is an example of an OTA. Online travel agencies provide guests with a platform to search for and book accommodations. Guests appreciate the ability to make their own travel plans and take their time perusing various options. Properties want to list here because of their large audiences. The bookings that come through them have a commission taken from the total. A traditional travel agency works much like an OTA, except that they meet in person with their clients to plan out their trip. This is typically used by affluent travellers, and the travel agencies they meet with tend to provide more personalised recommendations and itineraries. Travellers typically use a bricks and mortar travel agency like this when they want an expert to help them design their perfect getaway. Nowadays, we've also got independent travel agents, and it's much easier for smaller properties, especially like ours, to get on the books of an independent travel agent who works through social media to promote your site in exchange for a percentage of the booking. We use one actually, and every time she gets a booking, we give her a 10% discount, which she takes for herself. And finally, meta search sites like TripAdvisor and Google aren't exactly booking channels. Instead, they provide prices and link to other booking channels, usually OTAs like Booking.com or Expedia, or to your own website or booking engine. That's also your best indicator of whether a marketing channel is an OTA or a meta search site. If you can complete the booking on the channel itself, it's probably an OTA. If not, it's probably a meta search site. This is where guests go to discover places to stay and see what their online reviews are like. That said, TripAdvisor does have several options for bringing you bookings, which we'll go over later. As I mentioned, one major benefit to marketing channels is that you only pay when it works, when you actually see results in the form of bookings for that channel. Commission rates depend on the channel or OTA, as well as other factors. Obviously, direct bookings are better because you don't pay the commission. But how much more business can you expect that you wouldn't have otherwise had? Remember that this cost you would have otherwise had to have shouldered yourself to get your own bookings in the first place with your own marketing efforts. Ideally, you'll want to find a management system that gives you control over your marketing channel listings so you can be smart about how to use them. For example, let's say your property always fills up on the August bank holiday weekend. You don't want to lose money from commission fees if you don't have to. You'd like to fill those up with direct bookings. So blackening out your availability for the OTAs during that time will help you maximise your revenue for that busy weekend. Another tip is to implement special minimum night rules for specific OTAs. So maybe you want those OTA bookings to work harder for you by requiring that bookings through them have to have at least 2 or more or 3 more nights. ResNexus will allow you to set these rules to take place only during certain date ranges that you specify, because during the slower and shoulder seasons, maybe you're not as picky when it comes to OTA bookings. Keeping in line the theme of marketing channels wisely, let's talk about the billboard effect. So what is the billboard effect? The billboard effect refers to the phenomenon where online travel agencies indirectly benefit properties by increasing their visibility and generating direct bookings through their own websites or direct channels. It suggests that when a property is listed on an OTA platform and gains exposure to a broad audience, it can experience an increase in direct bookings on its own website. In other words, people find out about your property on marketing channels and then book directly with you for future stays. The billboard effect works due to several reasons. Increased exposure, OTAs attract a large number of guests who might not have been aware of a particular property. By listing on an OTA, you can gain exposure to a wider audience, increasing your visibility. Credibility and trust. Travellers often use OTAs as a trusted source to research and compare accommodations. When they see a property listed on a reputable OTA platform, it enhances that property's credibility and increases the likelihood of travellers considering it for more direct bookings. It helps with guests' concerns over some of the scam websites that are happening at the moment. Research and comparison. OTAs provide guests with comprehensive information, reviews, and price comparisons for multiple properties. If the property meets the criteria and preferences, they may visit the property's website to book directly. Everything I just mentioned about the billboard effect is demonstrated by the following research from Google. Google finds that when someone's planning a holiday or trip, they follow this typical path. Often they search based on a place they want to go or by activities they want to do in a local area. Usually the top results on Google are OTAs like Expedia, TripAdvisor, Booking.com and Airbnb. The traveller will identify some places that stand out for them, but not necessarily book at that time. They want to talk to their partner, spouse or friend. They'll watch videos about what they're doing to build excitement and escape the day-to-day. Then they will come back to the narrowed down choices and Google them to see their direct website, often comparing it to the OTAs. Finally, they'll complete the process by booking either direct or with the OTA. The bottom line, a majority of your guests will still want to book direct, so make sure that you have a good-looking website and an online booking engine, plus a great pricing strategy to have lower direct booking rate than what your property posts on the OTA. So that's the basic principle of the Billboard effect, but there are ways you can help it along to drive more of those direct bookings. The main way you can do this is by remarketing your property to your past guests, whether they came from an OTA or otherwise, because the OTAs don't necessarily want your guests to come and stay at your property again. They just want them to stay at a property again in the future. To them, it doesn't matter which one. So how do you combat this? Here's the answer. Collect guest information as you can remarket them in the future. Many OTAs don't send you the guest information for bookings that you get through them. Communications are sent through a proxy email, so you don't actually get the guest's real email address and phone number. One of the reasons the OTAs start doing this is to prevent properties from having their future guests cancel and rebook direct, thus avoiding paying the commission. So the standard practice is, of course, to ask for the guest number and email address on arrival when they check in. That way you can enter their information into your interest group for marketing going forward. OTAs are fantastic at bringing new guests in for the first time. When it comes to expanding your marketing reach and audience, you can't do much better. But I can't stress this enough, they aren't good at bringing them back again. OTAs are all about new and exciting, about sending people all over the world to stay with a different property every time. So once your guest is booked and stayed with you, the way to increase your guest return rate is to email market them directly in the future. I recommend collecting their birthday or anniversary date and then email marketing them on those dates or other important occasions. At the end of the day, it is really important that your business owns the guest information, not the OTA. So some other OTA tips are to use them for reviews. So OTAs like Airbnb remind guests to leave a review automatically. So it's a great way of building up your reviews. Use them to sell the weekday rooms or the slower season weekends. And you also might want to block weekends so that guests can book direct or block rooms during the busy season. ResNexus will allow you to block out specific dates just on the OTAs to encourage guests to book direct. Now let's go over these OTAs and other marketing channels. I'm going to explain what their target market is, what properties they list, and how they handle guest data. Keep in mind that on the last point about guest data, that a lot of the specifics may depend and vary based on your account and unique arrangement with that OTA. So what I'll go over may not be 100% accurate for every property. So first of all is Booking.com. As a platform, it appeals really strongly to budget-conscious travellers, and it's especially popular in the UK. A major benefit to Booking.com is that they appeal to a wide variety of property types, from bed and breakfast to campsites to glamping. You might not immediately think of Booking.com as an OTA for campsites, but it's actually pretty big on there. Booking.com won't send you the guest information, so you have to collect it for yourself if you want to remarket to them in the future. Airbnb as a platform has a focus on unique experiences when travelling. Virtually any kind of accommodation can be listed on Airbnb, from cabins to campsites, tree houses to castles. They've even got their OMG section where you get some crazy accommodation. So long as it's a place dedicated to accommodations, it will probably work within their guidelines. Airbnb doesn't send you any guest information until the guest has confirmed a booking, where it will let you know a telephone number, but it doesn't give you an email. It also filters your chat before your guest books to ensure you aren't giving out a phone number, email address, or website. My trick to combat this is if the guest asks to book direct, which sometimes I'll get a message, they'll inquire and they'll ask to book direct. I can't say, go to the website www. I will say, please can you just search Tractors and Cream, and then they can find us. Airbnb also has a preferred software partner program, which can come with some additional benefits to your property. Expedia is an OTA giant if ever there was one. Expedia's target market is very broad, but we often associate it with longer distance travelling. Until recently, their logo was an aeroplane. One of the main appeals is that you can bundle flights and car rentals into your booking on Expedia. So you see a lot of frequent travellers on there, and travellers who want to go to a variety of places. But the majority of Expedia users are US based. Expedia will list bed and breakfasts, holiday cottages, and hotels on their platform. They probably don't want camping or caravan sites, but if you fully furnish cabins on your property, then that might be something good to send to them. One other thing worth mentioning about Expedia Group, which is the company that cover Expedia, Vrbo, Hotels.com, and others, is that they also have their own loyalty rewards program for travellers. That means that you can enjoy the benefits of having a loyalty program with these travellers. So if somebody books through Vrbo and Expedia pretty regularly, then they earn points from it. It means they might want to come back to a site that is listed on Expedia, so that way they can spend their points with you. Expedia is one of those marketing channels that doesn't pass on the guest contact information. So this is one where you want to try and collect it when they arrive or at the time of booking. Expedia Group also has a preferred partner program for property management software services that have an excellent connection and integration with them. So ResNexus has preferred partner status with Expedia and with Airbnb, so you can enjoy special benefits like Expedia promotions to help you stand out. Vrbo is the OTA that's all about family trips and holidays. They appeal to travellers who want child-friendly places to stay that can fit the whole gang comfortably and have the place for themselves. Kind of a home away from home vibe, where the guests can cook for themselves in the on-site kitchen and really sprawl out for fun activities. Vrbo was originally called VRBO, Vacation Rentals by Owner, but it has since just been shortened to Vrbo. They list pretty much what you'd expect, short-term holiday rentals, from cottages and houses to apartments and cabins, pretty much any place that the guests can have to themselves and has a kitchen. Again, if you're a campsite that also has cabins, you might want to look into listing the cabins on Vrbo, even if they don't want your caravan or tent sites. Now to TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is primarily a meta search site, so travellers use it to learn about new places, to stay and check on reviews and other things to do. When someone makes a booking, they usually do so by clicking on one of their links to a different OTA like Expedia or Booking.com. You can find most types of accommodation on TripAdvisor, but they don't really do tent or caravan sites. Now, TripAdvisor actually does have a couple of ways you can get bookings from them directly or even through your own booking engine. So the first one is instant booking. This allows you to use TripAdvisor much like you would any OTA. You can list your own direct booking link and TripAdvisor will take a commission on reservations using it. Cost per click is similar, but instead of paying the normal commission, you pay a small amount whenever a user clicks through to your booking page. And finally, there's TripAdvisor Business Advantage. This is a service you can pay for that will basically allow you to spotlight your property a little better and provide users with the ability to book directly with you. It comes with a variety of benefits such as spotlighting a favourite review, adding a special offer call out, creating a storyboard video, and loads more. And if travellers reach out to book with you using your listed email, phone number, or website, then you don't pay a commission. You must be a paid TripAdvisor user for you to use pay-per-click and sponsored placement campaigns. You get payout options. You can use the guest credit card to charge as just same as your online bookings would. And because bookings you get through TripAdvisor can go directly to your own booking engine, you get the guest information sent over, allowing you to then send them promotional emails in the future. So we'll give them a green tick for this one. When you get TripAdvisor reservations through instant booking, they attach guest credit card information to the reservation and it requires a host to handle payment processing. Otherwise, guests will just be forwarded to another OTA to book directly with you, such as Business Advantage features. Google Travel is an interesting case. This is similar to TripAdvisor, where there's not an actual booking system. Google doesn't take commission off bookings because they send guests straight to an OTA or to your property directly if you have a free booking link set up. Google Travel will list pretty much any room or unit that has 4 walls and a bed. So that's bed and breakfast, boutique hotels, motels, caravans, holiday lets. Cabins, sorry, not campsites. They don't want campsites or caravan sites where the guest has to bring their own bed or shelter with them. One of the biggest benefits to using Google Travel is that one of the first places that many travellers go to start planning a trip. Even if you just Google places to stay in the Lake District, you'll be presented with Google Travel options. You've probably come across Google Travel without even realising it because it shows up on Google Maps. One unique thing about Google Travel, also sometimes called Google Hotels, is that you can actually set it up to provide a free booking link direct to your website on your listing. If you have cabins or any accommodations like that, there's no reason not to claim this if you haven't already. And I'll go over how to do that in just a moment. But first, Google Travel gets the green tick mark for this because direct bookings mean you get to collect the guest information, assuming that you've got a system that will enable you to do that. So how do you claim this free booking link? Well, first you need to make sure you claimed your Google My Business profile. If you already have, it's as good a time as any to just go through it and touch it up. I've put a QR code here from Google that will guide you through the process. Then you need to have a Google connection partner to help you send over rates and availability. So this would be your property management software, most likely. ResNexus does an API connection with Google Travel. And that's it. Then you just wait for your bookings to come in. Now we're transitioning onto OTAs that are more specific to camping and Glamping Hub is in the middle, where they don't really want caravan sites or tent sites, but they specialise in glamping. Their most popular listings are pure glamping properties like yurts and tree houses, but they do also list cabins and holiday lets. There's an emphasis on outdoor holidays, and if you're not sure whether your place is a good enough fit, then I'd definitely reach out to them and ask. Glamping Hub, again, doesn't automatically send your guest information, so you'll have to collect it manually. Hip Camp is camping, glamping, caravan parks, and they boast an audience of more than 7 million outdoor enthusiasts. Wouldn't you like to be on a platform with an audience like that? Hip Camp has some other notable offerings such as liability insurance, which can cover damages to your property. They also have 24-hour support team access, a professional photography program, and tax management services. Hip Camp, again, does not send you the guest contact information. However, they do keep the camper's proxy email address active for 1 year after their departure date, allowing you to market them in that way in the first year. If they do end up coming and staying with you again and booking direct, then you can easily collect their information that way. PitchUp is all about camping and has increased its offering to glamping too. Their most popular listing is tent sites, and guests are much more last minute in their bookings. But they do have around 33 million people visit PitchUp every year. Again, PitchUp will not automatically send you guest information, so you'll have to collect it manually. So how can you improve your OTA listing? I'm going to quickly go over a few things that you need to know. Each OTA is very different from each other, and trying to keep them all figured out can be really confusing. But basically think of your listing as your digital business card. You understand that each OTA is different and independent from each other and from your booking engine. There are certain parts that you can copy and paste, but try to keep in mind the OTA, the platform that you're using when you're making a listing, and be specific to that audience. Treat your listings as you would your own units on the booking engine, making the description as detailed as possible so guests know what they're booking. So photo quality, I can't stress enough how important it is to have high quality photos on your listing. You need to help the guests visualize a property and where they'll be staying. So 52% of travellers were influenced by beautiful images. I mean, aren't we all? That's how Instagram's got so amazing, because of all those travel vloggers that give you those beautiful photos. It is the #1 reason that travellers click on a property is the photos. And properties with 25 plus photos are much more likely to get booked on Vrbo. Quality images help hosts showcase their personality and style. Along with the listing title, the cover image is the first thing guests will notice in the search results. So guests spend more time exploring photos than on any other part of the listing page. And listings for 20, 25 or more high quality photos in general have higher conversion and occupancy on the platform. So select your favourite images based on their ability to attract guests, inform them about your space, and showcase your personality. Give your OTA page the 5-star treatment. The first 5 photos are going to be the most important and should highlight your home's best features. So listing title, description, and property type. So a great listing description is one of your best tools for securing bookings and setting guests' expectations. We've learned from Superhost that your property doesn't have to be perfect, but it's crucial to tell guests exactly what they'll find when they arrive. Make sure your property is accurately categorized. Is it a hotel room, an apartment, a bed and breakfast, a house, a dome? Pick the right type of your property, else it won't show up in the right searches. So my top tips are showcase your special features, because each of our properties has always got its own USP. Write a catchy title, keep it nice and brief, be authentic and honest about your space and also what you offer. If you don't offer Wi-Fi, if you're all off grid, you need to make it really clear so that people know what they're getting. And read other listings for inspiration. And my pro tip is you can get AI, ChatGPT, to help with your listing description. So tell them all about your property. If you're using AI anyway, you can, it can learn about your property from how much you're putting into it, and then get it to write the description for you, and you go ahead and tweak it. So be really mindful about fees and rates. So are you better off including them in your nightly rate rather than adding a fee? Some stats here are that 50% of travellers would not book a property where the fees made up 15% or more of the total. So with the OTAs, you're seeing this nightly rate, and then when you actually go through and you're seeing a much higher rate because you're adding all these, 15% more fees, it's going to really put people off. So 2/3 of travellers wouldn't book a property with 2 or more fees. And travellers rank high fees as the #1 negative experience on Verbo. So really think about how is it better off just include those extra fees like cleaning fees within that nightly rate? And then cancellation policies. So a flexible cancellation policy can improve visibility and increase your bookings. So 70% of travellers were likely to book a rental with flexible cancellation policies. And 49% of travellers consider a flexible cancellation extremely important. And there's a 26% increase in revenue and 53% increase in booking per listing with a good cancellation policy. We're really lucky with ResNexus that we've got a travel protection option. So if you enable that, you can have that as an option, so that if the guest needs to cancel out of your terms within the 2 weeks that they're coming to stay, then they can get a refund. So as a reminder, if you do the following things, it does help your property get more visible. So really think about your listing accuracy, think about your photos, think about your description highlights, your rates and fees, and your cancellation policies. But at the end of the day, you have to decide which marketing channels are right for you. That is all we've got for you today. Thank you so much for taking part in this webinar. It's time for Q&As now, so I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Amber, who is going to answer any of your questions for you.
Well, thank you guys for joining. I will go ahead and answer any questions that you have. We'll open it up, and I will go over some additional information while we're waiting for questions to come in. So I am the ResNexus company trainer, and so I work a lot with the different properties, and some things that I've noted, especially in our European properties, is there are certain things that can benefit you knowing beforehand, like currency. When you're setting up the different OTAs, you want to make sure that the currency in those OTAs are the same as the currency in what you have set up in ResNexus. If the currencies don't match, then it can cause issues with your rates. So that's the first thing that I want to bring up. Always make sure that the currencies match from one OTA to what it is in ResNexus. The OTAs also do need to be set up beforehand. So in order for us to connect them, everything will need to be set up. The only one that doesn't is the Google Hotels, but you will want to have other OTAs already set up within the system for us to be able to showcase your property. And next one is people often ask me, how many should I start with? How do I get on board with these? Always start out with 1 or 2 And then as you see improvement and you see reservations coming in, then go ahead and add additional OTAs. But you don't want to take more of your inventory than necessary. So I would suggest starting with 1 or 2 OTAs. And then the last is also goes back with currency pricing. Pricing is another section that can trip people up when they're trying to connect to the different OTAs. So with Expedia and Booking.com, we connect with their occupancy-based pricing, not per-day pricing. So those are some things that you'll want to know beforehand when initially setting up the properties. I love Vicky's energy with the different OTAs. I know that, so right now I'm currently in Slovakia and I'm planning a trip to London. So I'm using those different OTAs in order to plan my trip. Right now I'm looking at Expedia, Booking.com, but those are ones that I typically use. But if you guys do have questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. And thank you and have a great day.